Remember when ketchup was purple?
It's fun for your food.
Let's go back.
Tamagotchi, the
Of Y2K.
Don't you just hate it how everyone these days are just doing tier lists? It's like, come on people, get a little more creative. They always feel like just phone it in videos where the creator just didn't have any other ideas. Anyway, today we're going to be making a tier list for 90s food items. This video started out with me wanting to talk about Heinz purple and green ketchup, but guess what? There isn't enough content to make an entire video on that, or for a lot of the things on this list, so I bundled them together into a tier list video. Now keep in mind this is opinion based, so I'm sure you will all let me know in the comments which ones I ranked too high and which ones I ranked too low, or which ones I forgot altogether. Feel free to let me know how much of an idiot I am in the comments below. What started out as a 15 list item quickly grew larger after speaking to my friends about their memorable food items from the 90s. So let's get right into it and start this tier list off with a classic lunch staple for many kids of the 90s, and something that is still around today. Lunchables was introduced in Seattle in 1988 and is by Oscar Mayer. That's right, I didn't know that until I made this video as well, and I'm sure you'll all sleep better at night knowing. It was introduced not only as a way to sell more bologna and lunch meat, but to help out working mothers. I specifically remember the three I would eat. There was nachos and cheese, mini hot dogs, and pizza. There was also bologna and cheese and mini burgers and apparently a breakfast version of waffles and pancakes. Seems a bit redundant to have both in there, but whatever. All the way up until high school, my school was close enough to my home that I was able to eat lunch at home, which means I was lucky enough to heat up the pizza and hot dogs in the microwave. I can't imagine eating them cold. Also, thinking back, the pizza was on this biscuit that sort of had the texture of cardboard. As much as I fondly remember Lunchables, it was never a great lunch meal. I just like eating mini things because it made me feel like a giant. I think Lunchables would be a good place to start, somewhere in the middle. I'm thinking we put Lunchables in the C tier. Alright, what's next? The McPizza! I've spoken about this in previous videos. The time when McDonald's served pizza. Apparently you can still get it. It's being sold in one McDonald's in Orlando, Florida. Road trip for the channel, anyone? It was created in an attempt to attract the dinner time crowd, but it failed because most people would go to McDonald's for fast food and pizzas would take too long to make. I remember really enjoying the pizza as a kid. I get the personal size ones and enjoyed the hell out of them. So I'm gonna rank it a bit high. If I ever get the opportunity to try it again, I may readjust my ranking, but for now, McPizza has to be in the... It's not quite S tier. I'm going to put it in the A tier. Back in elementary school, we had certain food days. There was Pizza Day that was every Friday, McDonald's Day, which I don't know how often that happened, and once a month was Ice Cream Day. You put in your ice cream order in the morning and choose between strawberry, chocolate, or vanilla. Then, when lunch came around, these would arrive at your desk, and honestly, one of the most satisfying things to do with the snack was peeling off the cardboard lid. It was like a little ASMR session in the 90s. The funny thing about this is that I don't remember what it tasted like, but burned into my memory is the taste of that wooden spoon. Well, if you can call it a spoon, it was more like a wooden stick. I'm gonna put this in the B tier for 90s snacks, just because of how it sticks out in my memory, and despite the wooden taste, it was still nice to eat ice cream during class. Teddy Grahams are a Nabisco brand first introduced in 1988. They came in a bunch of different flavors like chocolate chip, cinnamon, chocolate, but the one I remember the most is the original honey. This was a snack I remember eating at recess in grade 1 before I had made any new friends, just leaning up against the wall and eating my Teddy Grahams out of a Ziploc bag my grandma made up for me. The first time being at recess with the big kids can be intimidating, so it was nice to have something from home to ease me into it. It's hard not to rank these as an S tier snack just because of this memory, but it isn't quite the tastiest snack, and I'm trying to find a balance between nostalgia and taste for this list, so I'll put this in the A tier. Heinz canned pasta came in many different shapes and still do. Back in the 90s there was Spider-Man, Pac-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Arthur, Simpsons, Rugrats, and my personal favorite, Pokemon, which came in blue and red cans just like the Game Boy games. I haven't eaten it in a long time, but I might pick up a can after this video, but I do remember it not being amazing or anything. I mean, it's canned pasta, every Italian's nightmare. Was it better than Lunchables? Not really, but I wouldn't say it was worse either, so I'll put it in the C tier, keeping the 90s lunches together. Okay, so I made a bit of a mistake. Turns out Easy Squirt Ketchup came out in 2000, which doesn't make it a 90s food at all. However, it is what inspired this list, and I'm going to talk about it anyway. My parents brought home the purple version of this ketchup, and it was a nice novelty. In fact, I had my very first quarter pounder from McDonald's with the purple ketchup. I do also remember having the green ketchup, and apparently there was blue and a mystery version where if you squeezed it, either pink, orange, or teal would come out. Whenever I squeeze out a mystery color, I need to see a doctor. Huh? Anyone? Anyway, because this was a fail on my part and it doesn't qualify as a 90s food, I'll put Easy Squirt Ketchup in the F tier. Unlike Easy Squirt Ketchup, this food is exactly all about the 90s when it was released in 1990 by Betty Crocker. For those of you who have never heard of Dunkaroos in your lifetime, it was a little plastic container that held cookies and icing that you could dunk cookies in, hence the name. Also, I said it was, but you can still get these at the store. My method of eating these was eating all the cookies and leaving just one so I could use it to scoop up all the icing, because I was a bit of a bad boy back then. They came in different flavored cookies and icing, and it inspired cookie dough, cereal, yogurt, and even pancake mix. I don't really know anyone who grew up in the 90s who didn't like Dunkaroos. I think Dunkaroos are going to be my first S-tier 90s food. Congratulations, Dunkaroos! Bath beads were a big thing in the 90s, and in my bathroom there was also a bunch of them next to the bathtub. They were little beads that would dissolve and release a liquid inside. They would come in a little ball or just different shapes and animals. I remember one time putting one of these in my mouth as a kid and it tasted nasty. Because of this, I'm going to put the bath beads in the F tier for 90s foods. Kids Cuisine was also created in 1990 and was promoted as a frozen food Happy Meal, but it was far from it. The mascot was a penguin named KC, and he seemed pretty chill. They're also still being produced today. It was okay as a frozen meal can be, I suppose. I remember the fries being a weird taste and texture after cooking them in the microwave. It's all kind of blah, to be honest. I would take Lunchables over Kids Cuisine, so because of that, I'll put it in the D tier. Sorry, KC, I hope you understand. Crystal Pepsi only ran from 1992 to 1994, but has still left an impact on pop culture because I'm someone who never tried Crystal Pepsi, yet I knew of it. The 90s kinda went through a see-through phase. There was see-through phones, gaming consoles, and computers, among other things. Crystal Pepsi was just Pepsi, but without the caramel coloring, and based on what I've read, it didn't taste all that different. It also inspired a colorless beer called Miller Clear. It was just a novelty, and because of that, I'm going to put it somewhere in the middle. I think C tier is a good spot for Crystal Pepsi. Heinz Bagel Bites are pretty good, especially when compared to the other lunch foods on this list. There isn't much to say about them except that they were mini bagels with pizza on top. My go-to was either cheese or pepperoni. I wasn't about that deluxe lifestyle yet. I've had them fairly recently actually, and they still hold up, and are a great lunch or a snack while you're gaming, especially after dusting off the Nintendo 64. Bagel Bites for me are a B tier 90s food, not quite A tier because there's something coming up that I would put above it in terms of bite-sized pizza snacks. Fun Dip was a friend's suggestion, and I do remember getting these back when I was a kid. It was first introduced all the way back in the 1940s, but was still prominent in the 90s after being purchased by Nestle in 1989. As of 2018, it's under the Wonka Candy banner. From reading its history, Fun Dip was passed around from company to company more times than a Kardashian at the NBA draft. It was a candy stick that you'd lick, then dip it into what was basically pixie stick sugar. Even as a kid, I wasn't a fan of pixie sticks. It was just a bit too much for me. I'm going to put this in the D tier just because it wasn't for me, but I know a lot of people liked it back in the 90s and still enjoy it now. Oreo Cereal was first introduced in 1997 and discontinued in 2007, everywhere except South Korea because of a legal loophole. It's back now though. It actually sold really well but was discontinued because Kraft, who owned the name of Oreos, and Post Cereals, who owned the copyrights of the cereal itself, couldn't reach a deal. It's Oreos in cereal form, what's not to like? Do I put it in the A or B tier? I think I'll put it in the A tier. I don't want big cookie people showing up at my door. I heard they can be a mean group. Little Debbie's Cosmic Brownies just squeezes on this list as it was first introduced in 1999. And honestly, when I did some research on them, there wasn't much to be found. I haven't had them in a while, but still see them at the store and consider getting them. I did enjoy them as a kid, but I remember they did have a bit of an aftertaste, and for that I'll toss Cosmic Brownies into the C tier. Little Hug fruit barrels were first introduced in 1974 and come in a little barrel-shaped plastic bottle. From looking these up, it seems depending on the region you were in, everyone had a different name for them. There was Bug Juice, Little Hugs, and Juice Barrels, to name a few. Now this food item I'm a bit foggy on. I know I've had them before, and I feel these are the ones that tasted like melted popsicles? If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below, but based on that, it wasn't really a satisfying drink. But not too bad either. Again, I'll put this in the middle with the C tier as a sign of my terrible memory. Pizza Hut was big in the 90s, so I had to include it in one way or another. However, when I think of 90s Pizza Hut, I immediately think of Pizza Hut buffet. I remember going with my family and attending birthday parties there. It was all-you-can-eat pizza, breadsticks, salad, and dessert pizza, and they had the wooden tables with those stained glass lights hanging above them. I also remember there being a do-it-yourself ice cream sundae machine. I would load that sundae up with so much chocolate syrup and so many nerd candies that it tasted like a spoonful of diabetes. I'm not sure if there are any more Pizza Hut buffets still near me, but especially after COVID, they're harder to come by. It may be cheating because it's more than one food item, but Pizza Hut buffet is without a doubt an S-tier 90s food. Clearly Canadian was introduced in 1987 in British Columbia. It was founded by Gordon Sim and Doug Mason, which I only bring up because Gordon and Doug are such stereotypical Canadian names, it's perfect. Clearly Canadian is flavored sparkling water that was actually brought back from crowdsourcing with a major push coming from YouTube's own Good Morning Mythical. Here is why this one's tough for me to rank. It seems like all sparkling water gives me headaches. I'm not sure why. But however, I do remember the taste being good. Because I'm in the minority who apparently can't drink this, I'm still gonna rank it in the B tier. Flintstones, despite being a show from the 60s, seemingly had a resurgence in the 90s. There were Flintstone vitamins, the John Goodman Flintstone movie, and these Flintstone push-ups among other things. This was my go-to snack when I went to the grocery store. I'd make a beeline for the frozen section just to get these. It says ice cream when I looked it up, but I remember it being more of an orange sherbet. It came in a tube and you'd push the sherbet up until you reached the end. It seems like a great idea for a Pringles can, actually. Just putting it out there, you can have that one for free, Pringles. Plus, once you were done, you could take the push stick out and use them as wheels for a car. I remember making one of those mousetrap vehicles for science in school and using them for wheels, although they were a bit wobbly and we didn't win. Personally, this is an S-tier snack in terms of flavor, however I don't know how prominent it was for others and didn't really have a 90s nostalgia impact like Pizza Hut Buffet or Dunkaroos, so I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Capri Sun dates all the way back to 1969. Nice. It comes in plastic pouches that you had to use your straw to puncture a hole in. If you put it in wrong, it could go right through the other side and you'd end up all sticky, which I heard happens to a lot of people on their first time. They were good though, just like the KoolAid Jammers, which was sort of the same deal. What makes it so nostalgic for me though isn't the drink itself, but the liquid metal commercials that would air for them, turning children into bad CGI versions of the Terminator. I think for that alone it puts these drinks just above average, so let's go B tier. How many do we have left? 9. We need to speed this up a bit. This is another Betty Crocker snack introduced in 1991. It's another one that has memorable commercials of turning children's heads into fruit. Starting to think maybe these companies hated children. It was a jelly-like candy with fruit syrup in the center that would explode in your mouth when you bit into it. There are too many X-rated jokes to choose from here. Let's just move on and put this in the S tier where it belongs. Fruit Roll-Ups debuted in 1983, but I'm not talking about their fruit by the foot. I'm talking about the ones where if you press it against your tongue it would give you a tattoo. On their website it describes it as fruit leather, which is really gross, but yet so accurate. Just thinking about it is making my mouth water because I still remember that sour taste. However, I don't think they lived up to the Gushers. This may go lower than I expected. I was going to put this in the A tier, but seeing this full list in front of me right now, I feel more comfortable putting this in the B tier. This is the last item on this list that I still eat from time to time. It was originally created in 1964 and is a pastry with sweet filling inside and frosting on top. There could be an argument that it's one of the greatest snacks ever created. You could eat them straight out of the box or heat them up in the toaster. My favorite were the s'mores, strawberry, and blueberry, but there were so many different flavors over the years. I know I tried some that was a hell no for me, but I'm vaguely remembering the flavor. so I don't want to call it out and find out it was the wrong one. One thing I did notice when researching it though was apparently Jerry Seinfeld is producing a PopTart film for Netflix called Unfrosted, the PopTart story. So, there you go. There is no doubt in my mind that this is an S-tier 90s food. Surge is something I've never had before, so it'll make it hard to rank. It was first introduced in 1997, and despite me assuming it was an energy drink, it was actually a citrus-flavored soda created by Coca-Cola to compete with Mountain Dew. It has made a comeback recently, again because of fan demand. I had to use my phone a friend for this one, and they assured me that Surge is an S-tier 90s food. So this will be the only item on the list that isn't my own opinion, and we'll let it sit at S-tier. But don't come at me for it. We're gonna speed past this one. It was crackers with cheese that you'd smear on with a little red plastic stick. What else is there to say? Except that I like the peanut butter version better. B tier. Next. What if I told you I've never eaten oatmeal in my life? No reason behind it, just never have. The Dinosaur Eggs oatmeal came out in the late 90s and is still on store shelves today, so I can still go and try it if I want. But like, the store is like all the way down the road and then I have to get up and stuff. The cool part about this is after adding hot water, the little dinosaur eggs would hatch into tiny crunchy dinosaurs, making you the apex predator instead. Let's go in the middle with a C tier ranking. Final 3, we're nearly done. Have I kept your attention, or did you fall asleep while watching? I'm good either way, it still counts towards the YouTube algorithm. This is the pizza snack I was talking about earlier when discussing the pizza Bagel Bites. I liked these more. They tasted slightly better, even though if you bit into them right after they came out of the microwave, it was like biting into lava. They were created in Minnesota and came in cheese, pepperoni, supreme, and sausage. These are the snacks I picture when sitting around with friends and playing GoldenEye back in the 90s. Are they as memorable as the other foods in the S tier though? I don't think so, so I'm gonna put this in the A tier. Chubby soda came in so many different flavors I can't list them all, yet I may have tried them all. They came in tiny bottles, and whenever we went to the store I would always try to get a different one. I'm starting to realize that the 90s not only had a see-through phase, but a tiny phase, which would explain why I was born in 1991. Anyway, it launched in 1993 but was only available in certain Caribbean countries before making its way to North America. This is a B tier food for me because the soda was good from what I remember, except maybe bubblegum. However, I'm not sure how many people remember this, or if it was a regional thing for some people. The last 90s food item on this list is definitely not the least. Doritos 3Ds came out in 1998 in jalapeno cheddar, nacho cheese, and zesty ranch. I remember having the nacho cheese and they were puffy Doritos in triangle form, or would it be pyramid form? I like to think that this is what inspired James Cameron to get into 3D filmmaking. These were pretty good, and although I haven't tried the new version, I'm happy to put this in the A tier to close out this list. There you have it, 90s food ranked. I feel like there's a chance that I created more controversy discussing this topic with some than I would have if I talked about politics or something. Looking at the list now, it seems a bit chaotic, but I wouldn't change a thing. If you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to tell me what I got right, what I got wrong, and something I forgot in the comments below. For everyone who liked this video, may your heads not turn into delicious fruit. Bye.